Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Buckets and Birdies podcast.
Buckets and Birdies is a weekly glimpse into the worlds of basketball and golf.
We'll also balance national sports trends with ACC insights
and provide a lens of notable happenings of sports in our home state of North Carolina.
Two friends and industry professionals getting together to bring you 23 minutes of fun each week with shared experiences around buckets
and birdies.
He's Carter Bills, sports agent and seasoned consultant in the golf space.
Joining me on the mic is national champion, Tar Heel great, Marcus Ginyard.
Welcome to Buckets and Birdies.
Welcome to another episode of the Buckets and Birdies podcast.
It's early Thursday morning, July 9th, and when everyone's hearing this one, Marcus, it will be Friday, July the 10th.
That's right. Dropping new episodes every Friday at high noon.
Thanks to everyone for tuning into this one, listening to 23 minutes of Buckets and Birdies. And as positive people who like positive things, we'll start as we always do with the quote of the day. And the quote of the day today, Marcus, is there is no greater connector in our nation than sports.
I love it. SVP. Glad that we got our little SVP interaction in earlier this year down at the Masters. But what an incredible time that we're in right now, as we've got so many sports happening. And you get to see quite literally people from all across the world coming together to enjoy sports, whether you're talking about Wimbledon or the World Cup. There's a lot of people watching basketball out in Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, Vegas, Utah, with the Summer League. And so you and I both know, as we've spent a lot of our lives around sports, it really is a beautiful thing and a really cool way to bring a lot of people together.
No doubt. And when we last talked, it was approaching Father's Day weekend, so mid to late June, only a couple weeks ago. But as we said, a lot has happened in the sports world. Probably nothing more greater, to your point, Marcus, than the FIFA World Cup being hosted here in North America and then ultimately whittled down in the United States. Unbelievable time for the FIFA World Cup. It really feels like it has connected this country, even though you've got your Norway fans over here, Cristiano Ronaldo fans, you have your Messi Argentina fans. Everybody seems to be getting behind it, though. The U.S. made a magical run. Unfortunately, their run has been cut short. But it was fun to see U.S. soccer feel like they had a real chance. And I got to give you kudos. You picked France from the top. No surprise where you spent some of your most fond years in your professional playing career in the country of France. France is still going. And in fact, Marcus, they play this afternoon, I believe.
They do. I do. I'm really excited to try to sneak away a little bit and catch that game this afternoon. But man, you're right. It's been an incredible couple of weeks now watching the World Cup and just seeing so many people, whether they're cheering for the same team or not, just seeing so many people come together and watch games at bars or at people's homes together, going crazy, cheering, crying, all the emotions that come with sports. It's really fun to watch. But truly, it's crazy to see some people that never talk about soccer, didn't know they own soccer jerseys, are now out all over the place going to games. But again, that's to me what it's all about. It's okay if this creates new fans. I don't really subscribe to calling people bandwagon fans or anything like that. If this is an opportunity to make you a fan and to get you involved and get you interested, great. Then the next time around, you won't be a new fan. So I really just love all of these different events that are going on that really get people engaged, because I believe sports is really one of the best things that you can experience in this life.
No question. No question. And listen, I like soccer. I played growing up, but I can't pretend, Marcus, I don't stay as locked into it year round. My son plays American football opposed to global football, but I get pretty amped up when the World Cup comes around. It's fun to tune into. And like you said, whether people are kind of rejuvenized by it or whether they're becoming soccer or global football fans for the first time, I think it's good for the sport. It's certainly been fun to be the host country. I wish USA could have held on a little longer to make an even more magical run playing here in front of the fans in the States. What are your thoughts as they get knocked out by Belgium? A great side, obviously, Belgium. But, they end up kind of running away with it 4-1. What are your thoughts? You got a lot of analysts saying, hey, U.S. was respectable. They felt like they were in every match until that one. It was unfortunate they didn't play their best in the final match that they played. And then you've got other people that says, hey, we've been to the round of 16 a few times. In 2002, the Tim Howard and Landon Donovan led squad, went beyond that. And that's the furthest we've gone. But there was a lot of hope, a lot of passion for this team. And some people are saying, hey, it wasn't enough. It got cut short. What says Marcus Ginyard? Was it a magical run or do we need to do better?
Carter, first, let me just say I too do not follow the global sport of football that closely. Actually, just got my second football kit ever just a couple of months ago. Shout out to Pablo Vega, who got me in an Arsenal kit for the Champions League final a couple
That's
months
right.
ago. But I've seen the same, Carter. I've seen it. Magical run, not enough. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was a great showing.
Hmm.
It looked like we ran out of gas there in that last game against Belgium, but I felt proud of their performance up until that point. I think when you want to be a name on the global stage that people talk about as a contender, you're going to have to perform at a higher and higher level, right? As you're trying to literally raise that bar. So if you do want to be thought of as a world power in that way, maybe it's not enough. But at the same time, I think the energy, the momentum, and just seeing everybody kind of come together around USA Soccer was something that was very, noteworthy, and I think they should be proud of that. So, kind of depending on which angle you're taking, that will decide whether you feel like it was enough or not. But not many people are going to remember the last 16 teams, right? A lot of people don't even remember the loser. So depends on what you want to be remembered for, right? Having a good run and getting everybody all fired up, or do you want to be remembered as a winner? So
Right.
just depends on which way you want to look at it.
You saw it when you were over in France. What are some of your best memories of global football? I'm sure you went to some matches while you were abroad.
Yeah, man, it's crazy to think about how many people fill into these stadiums, I mean, on a weekly basis and are going absolutely nuts, and it's crazy to grow up here in the States and to have very little sight into it. Obviously, as you get, as time has gone on and the globalization of all things and, being able to stream games, we've seen a lot more of it. But, when I was growing up, I didn't know that there was 100,000 people filing in the stadiums to watch soccer, every week in Europe. And you just can't replicate the passion that they have around sports in general, but certainly around football in Europe. And so I was very fortunate to see some great games. Didn't get to go to the Barcelonas or the Bayern Munichs of the world, but saw a couple of lower level games that were still really exciting.
How do you compare games you went to? You talk about those crowds and trying to describe it, hundreds of thousands of people, or at least 100,000 people, right, pouring into a stadium, seemingly never empty. Every seat
No.
is full. Every moment is filled with a song or a chant, and you can
Hmm.
just feel the passion oozing. How do you compare that to, let's say, you're growing up in Northern Virginia, Washington versus Dallas Cowboys game, or in college, playing and being a part of a Carolina Duke game in Cameron or in the Smith Center? How do you compare the passion of those to the global football scene in those games?
There's no comparison. In my
Really?
personal opinion, there's no comparison. In in the US, we're cheering when there's moments, right?
Yeah.
When we score, or even when we get scored on and you're trying to pick your team up, we're cheering in moments. And then there's ups and downs. Man, where you're out there in Europe at these games, I mean, they are cheering nonstop all game long. Chants, to your point, everybody knows them from the 8-year old to the 80-year old. They
Yeah.
know all the songs, all the chants. They're all in unison. I mean, they're on their feet the entire time. To me, it's just a whole nother level of engagement and of enthusiasm. Don't get me wrong, Cowboys game or whatever the case may be is going to be great. It's going to be fun. You're going to have the tailgating and all the things, but in the stadium during the game, from start to finish, I just don't think there's any comparison.
Another thing that's been happening on the global sports scene, Marcus, since we last connected, of course, is Wimbledon. And as late June ended and early July has turned now, that tournament is well underway. We're into the semifinals. You and I both enjoy following Coco Gauff. She has advanced, Marcus, as far as she ever has and plays later this morning in her semifinal match, which is exciting. She, of course, won in 2023 the U.S. Open as a young star and really broke through as a Grand Slam champion. Put another notch on her belt last year, winning the French. She looks, Marcus, to win the third of 4 career Grand Slams and has 2 more matches to do it. That next stride in her journey at Wimbledon this year is this morning.
Man, Wimbledon is such an incredible sporting event, and it's wild to me to think that I haven't really seen much of it. because I've been so focused on the World Cup. And so it's crazy to have two, major events happening simultaneously, and hard to keep my attention focused in one spot there. But certainly I'm excited to see Coco and the rest of the field continue to battle for that championship, that Grand Slam championship, as you mentioned. Just another premier event. I love tennis. Not a great tennis player myself, Carter, but I do love getting out there. Have never played on grass either, which I think is always really cool to think about this tournament and all the different surfaces. But obviously a special tournament, and yeah, like I said, man, look forward to seeing who's going to hoist that trophy up at the end.
So, Marcus, another thing that's been going on since we last spoke, of course, is the NBA draft. It's spilled right into Summer League. Let's take a glimpse back into the draft. That takes us nicely right into our bucket section. Our boy Caleb Wilson from the University of North Carolina went 4 to Chicago. There was another University of North Carolina great that went early in the draft, 3, I believe, in 1984 to Chicago. No pressure on Caleb. No one should be put up against the pressure of a Michael Jordan, but man, Caleb looks confident. He looks proud to be drafted 4. His sentiments seem to be like, you were crazy not to take me 1, 2, 3, but it comes off in an endearing way, certainly in a confident way. Marcus, what are your thoughts post-draft? What are your thoughts on Caleb?
Well, I mean, you said that we shouldn't put that much pressure on him, in that same conversation as Michael Jordan. But it's interesting because Caleb brought that up himself.
Yep.
He did not shy away from that comparison at all. He
Yeah,
mentioned, hey, there's a interesting connection here between Chapel Hill and Chicago.
that's
He wants
right.
to go down as one of the greats. And so, and to your point, in a way that doesn't feel overconfident at all, but, someone who clearly believes in himself, believes in the work that he's put in, believes in, his talents, which, I believe in him too. I mean, I got to watch him firsthand, and he's an incredible player, an incredible person. And so really excited, not that I have any connection with Chicago, but really excited about, the type of player that organization is going to get. And I know that his future is going to be bright. So really looking forward to seeing him blossom there. I know he's going to be a great player. So that's great. The rest of the draft for me is, I try not to put too much weight on it, because there's so many stories about people who were drafted high that didn't turn out, or people who got drafted low that became all-stars, and people who weren't drafted that, became great players. And so it's interesting to kind of go down the line and see where people ended up, almost just like, I don't know, like you're going through your bracket, right? Like this is who you picked, and let's see if you were right. But at the end of the day, who knows how it's all going to shake out, right? You got injuries that could happen. You got off the court stuff that can happen. A lot of things affects, people's careers. And so the draft isn't necessarily something that's going to be what shows you what these players are going to be like in the future. So not too much weight on it. Nothing too surprising. I mean, there's a handful of folks that I thought might have gone earlier, but at the end of the day, watching summer league, and then watching these next couple of years to see how these young players, start to step into their new career and the new chapter as a pro is really what I'm going to be watching. All right, Carter. Now as we transition from buckets to birdies, the famous game here, Nets and Jackets. We're going to make a little bit of a twist here, given the changing landscape of all the events happening right now. So now what we're going to do is, the Nets portion of this is going to be the number one draft pick in the NBA in any given year, and the
Okay.
Jackets is going to be the winner of the Open, otherwise known as the British Open for folks that aren't golf nerds like myself out there. So, number one draft pick in the NBA and the Open Championship. Your year is 1999.
1999. I think 98 is one of the trickiest draft years ever because I think it was Michael Olakandi, which is crazy for the Clippers, which was not a great pick in hindsight. So I don't want to get tripped up by that. I think 99 was Elton Brand of Duke, probably also to the Clippers, if I remember right. And I think 99, is it Ernie Els?
Hey, man, I think that's pretty respectable. Correct. Elton Brand to the Clippers,
Okay.
1999. And it's Paul Lowry. I hope I'm saying his name right. Paul Lowry,
Paul Lowry.
1999
Man,
Open Championship winner.
I would not have gotten that one. You're in the Tiger, Phil, VJ era. But I just, for some reason, I knew 99 was not one of those guys. I thought it might have been Ernie Els, the Big Easy, but Paul Lowry. Okay. I
There
learned
you
something
go.
today.
Love it. Well, tell us what we've been missing in the world of golf.
Yes, we talked about, Marcus, when we last spoke. It was championship week of the U.S. Open that was going on, and what a showdown it was at Shinnecock on Long Island. You had Wyndham Clark coming down, who led after round one, that goes on to win the championship, ends up one of the few wire-to-wire winners, right, in Open Championship history at the U.S. Open, and takes down world number one Scottie Scheffler. And what a moment for him, because Wyndham had sort of gone from winning the U.S. Open at LA a couple years ago at LACC. He had played some great golf as a top 10 player, and then over the last year or so was struggling to kind of find his way back into that top form. He won earlier this year, got the confidence back, similar to what he did in May of 23 when he won and then went on to win the U.S. Open. He did that this year, got his confidence, and man, it was great to see Wyndham hoist the trophy. He's got an incredible story, was very close with his mom, who he lost. His dad ended up being there on Sunday. I don't know if you saw that, Marcus, which was Father's Day. He didn't even know his dad was going to be there. So a special moment for him. And Scottie was really chasing. The world number one is probably trying to find his best form. But gosh, how good do you have to be when you're trying to find your form and you're seemingly still in the hunt every week? So kudos to an amazing U.S. Open. Scottie Scheffler was right there. And Wyndham Clark ends up in a different conversation now, Marcus. He's not a one-hit wonder. He's a two-time major champion, and he'll forever be at least that, which is impressive.
Yeah, no, it's good to see him back up on that leaderboard and hoisting another trophy. I remember him, gosh, a couple years ago maybe winning that Quail.
Yep.
So knew that he, had it in him. A young player that's still got a lot of potential ahead of him, and so good to get that major championship underneath his belt, I'm sure, and I'm sure we'll be seeing his name a lot more moving forward. And tough go for Scotty. Always hurts to lose in those tight matches like that. And I know the Travelers Championship that you'll talk about here shortly was another tough one for Scotty.
Yeah, no question. Scotty was coming down in the hunt again. He always keeps himself in the mix, which I think is part of his greatness, Marcus, right? He never plays his way out on a Thursday or Friday, and then he seems to push the gas on Saturday and Sunday. And when he's playing extraordinarily well, you just can't catch him. But he's been hunting a little bit lately, opposed to having been the hunted, and he was doing that again at Travelers. And Viktor Hovland, your boy, who you picked, I believe, to win the U.S. Open, so you were only 1 week off. You
One
could
week
feel
off.
Viktor playing well. Apparently, that was good. So Viktor ends up winning right on a Monday after playoffs. Scotty's right there again. Heartbreaking for him because you know he can taste the wins, and he hasn't won since the American Express at the top of the calendar. And again, how good do you have to be to say he hasn't won since just earlier in the year? You know, winning is what you're accustomed to when you're as great as Scottie Scheffler. But what a tournament it was. We talked a lot about World Cup off the top of this episode, and there was a Norway match in the Boston area, not too far, about an hour 45 from TPC River Highlands, where the Travelers Championship is played. And they made their way down to witness the final signature event of the year and to cheer on their Norwegian brethren in Viktor Hovland. And they turned out in droves, Marcus. I'm sure you saw on the broadcast, on social, on all sorts of outlets of the coverage. They brought that World Cup spirit, chanting and rowing and the whole vibe, to the Travelers Championship. And it was fun. It was additive to the atmosphere. Viktor was a good sport. The American fans were a good sport. And man, what an atmosphere that created. It was fun.
Man, I did see that, and that looked awesome. And I know we've got to be a little quieter out there on the golf course than we do at a football match, but would love to bring a little bit more of that energy out there. But good to see that, again, sports bringing people together literally from across the world. I'm glad that Victor had some of his home folks there to cheer him on for that win.
Special stuff. He's in great form. I think a lot of people love the idea of him continuing to play well as we go into the Scottish Open this week and the British Open, or the Open Championship, as you said, Marcus, the following week. There was one more event before the guys went abroad. It was the John Deere Classic following Travelers, and Chris Gotterup, Marcus, wins his third time this year. What a win for Chris.
Man, another young guy that we keep talking about more and more and more. I'm glad that you brought his name up to me several months ago. So now it's somebody that when I see, I'm like, all right, I know we've been talking about this young kid. I know he's got some gas in the tank here. Let's see what he's able to do out there. So excited to see another young guy get out there and get a win.
That's right. That's right. As you look back a year, Chris won the Scottish Open last year, I believe. So this recent win at John Deere was his 5th. And in a calendar year, I saw something, Marcus, I believe in the last calendar year, there have been 3 players to win 5 or more times. And it's like Scotty 10, Chris Gotterup 5, and Rory 5. And so what company to be in if you're Chris Gotterup? And we talked about Viktor being one of the favorites as the guys head over to the UK for the Scottish Open this week. And without question, Chris Gotterup is one of the favorites as well to defend.
Well, look forward to that. Should have some good competition out there.
That's right. Takes us right back into the Open Championship, the 4th of 4 majors in the golf scene this year, Marcus. We'll go to Royal Birkdale next week. The last time the event was at Royal Birkdale, Jordan Spieth won in crazy fashion on a Sunday. And he's playing well again, too. So interested to see Jordan go back to Royal Birkdale. Interested to see Scotty and Rory maybe going head-to-head at another major. And then you've got Chris Gotterup and Viktor Hovland and Wyndham Clark and all these players we've been talking about playing well. It seems like a lot of talent on the PGA Tour is peaking at the right time, Marcus. And it'll be a fun major to watch. Again, as we watch this one with coffee, given the time difference, which I always enjoy.
Yeah, I don't mind that at all, my friend.
And Marcus, if you don't mind, before we close this one out, I just want to dedicate this episode to a close friend and listener of the show who has unfortunately passed away, Jack Roney. Jack was an athlete here in North Carolina. He swam at NC State. You heard me reference my friends before in a couple stories we shared, that buddies that I had that swam at NC State. One of my dear friends and groomsmen in my wedding, Brian Crowder, is how I met Jack. I met him in college. We stayed in touch through weddings, through fantasy football, through texts every week. And unfortunately, Jack passed away this past week. But Jack was a listener of the Buckets and Birdies podcast. And just to make the connection for you, Marcus, if you'll remember about a month or 5 weeks ago, you sent a message to Pablo and me and said, hey, I was moving through RDU and some guy shouted out to me, Buckets and Birdies. And about the same time, I received a text from Jack that said he saw you in the airport and shouted out Buckets and Birdies to you. And so I don't know if you realize that, but to make the connection, that was Jack. He was always a guy that was, making light of situations and brought humor into every possible situation in a good way. And just want to shout out Jack. He's an incredible soul, and thoughts with his family and children in this time.
Yeah, and I definitely remember that, and I did see that news, and obviously terrible news, and condolences to his family. I know he leaves behind a big family, so but definitely appreciate Jack for his relationship with you. Obviously, sounds very special, and appreciate him being a supporter of the pod. But condolences to his family.
All right, that's all we have for today.
Thanks for tuning in to the Buckets and Birdies podcast.
That's 23 minutes of our thoughts for you. For Marcus Ginyard, I'm Carter Bills.
I'll be in tow. Allez les Bleus. Let's go.